and welcome to Parenting Today. My name is Rebecca Miruri Mulure. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, today on the show, we are going to discuss the pregnancy journey, the 3 trimesters, trimester 1, 2, 3. We actually find out what it takes to go through these trimesters. On the show today, we have 2 mothers. One is Yvonne. Yvonne is a mother of 3. And we also have Faith Rono, who is a mother of 1. And today we are going to discuss the pregnancy journey. Later on the show, we'll have Dr. Corinne Arara, who's an obstetrician gynecologist, who's going to explain to us the prenatal care, the antenatal care, and also the 3 trimesters, the first trimester, second and third, and what to expect. You don't want to miss this. Join me shortly. Welcome.
Thank you.
To the show. And I'll start with you, Lorna. Pregnancy journey. How long ago did you become a mother first? And then tell us about that journey.
All right. That was 13 years ago.
Ah.
Yes, my firstborn is a 13-year-old girl. Yeah, the journey was not that easy. But so far, we thank God. During my first trimester, that was the hardest. Because I was getting a lot of cravings that I don't understand. And I got pregnant at a very young age, first of all. So I didn't understand how a pregnant person is supposed to behave, or what are the things that I need. If I have a craving, do I really need to feed it, you get? Yeah. And that notion of ukikula sana utainona, those things. So, and I used to be a very petite girl. So I really used to worry a lot. So that journey was not that easy. But we thank God we went through it. Exactly. And we came out actually strong, yeah.
We'll talk about the 2 other pregnancies.
Yes.
But let's get to you, Faith Rono. How long ago and how was it?
So thank you so much for having me on this show. I became a mom 2 years ago. Actually, exactly 2 years ago, because my son turned 2 yesterday.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so the first trimester, I think it was a shocker for me, because being a first-time mom, there was so many changes happening in my body, in my life, that like she said, you don't really understand, you know. So it was not as tough. I didn't have the nausea that people get, but I was tired. I was constantly tired. Like every time I was just feeling like sleepy, you know, and I didn't understand what was happening. So I was like, why am I?
That's the first symptom that you noticed.
Yeah. So why am I sleepy all the time? Like at 1 p.m. I'm sleepy. It's so unlike me. So anyway, and then I used to work out a lot. So one day I went to the gym and I went on the cross trainer. I started working out and I felt dizzy. So I felt like fainting. Yeah. So this has never happened because I do a lot of workouts. So I think that's how I knew I was expecting, and you know, the rest of the trimester was pretty much tiredness most of the time, and the cravings, you know, kick in. But yeah, it was not a very hard time, I would say. But you change a lot. It's not. Exactly. It's never the same.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Especially when the baby comes now. Back to you, Lorna. What's the first symptom that you noticed and you're like, we might be pregnant?
Okay. Mine was nausea, and I ate a lot. By a lot, I mean a lot. My mom was a nurse, so she noticed, and she was like, Lorna, are you sure you're okay? I'm like, Mom, probably it's just hormones. Yeah, and then, you know, those moms, my mom was that generation that used to look at you and tell you, my friend, there's something happening. And I used to counter check it, and I'm like, Mom, ni malaria. I don't have it. Talk on me. Check on it and it's positive. I'm like, oh my God. So what do? I'm young. I just finished high school. What am I going to do about this? How am I going to take care of a kid? My mom is old. I can't leave the kid to my mom. So all those questions, am I going to be a good mom? I was raised as an only child. I don't know how to relate with siblings. So how am I going to relate with this kid? Those are the things now. They were running through my mind at that time. But fast forward, I thank God. I kept it. I never once thought of getting rid of it. Yeah, I just told myself it's time now to put on your big pants and take it as it is.
13 years later.
13 years
Faith, how was it for you?
So after the dizziness incident that I told about, and of course the constant tiredness, okay, I think good thing for me, I was trying, so, I was looking out for it, but it was not happening that fast the way I wanted it. But so this was something that I knew would happen, so because I was in the trying phase. So I just, having seen this symptoms, dizziness, tiredness, I thought, okay, maybe it was actually 2 weeks, because I had not even missed my period or anything. So I went to the chemist, I got the kit, thank God for
Such
chemist.
methods,
And now, because you can just do the testing by yourself.
Sure.
So I bought the kit, went back home, and I remember I was with my sister, and I was like, no, I've done so many of these tests and they're always negative. I'm sure it's nothing, I'm sure So anyway, I did the test, I waited. I remember I put the strip on some paper on the window pane, and then I closed the curtain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was like, really, I'm not going to check this because I think it's going to be negative. I really wanted a child, So I asked my sister to go and look at it. So it's my sister actually who first saw the positive, the 2 lines. And honestly, I must say it was such an exciting moment for me. And I was so happy. I just kept thanking God and saying, God, I've waited for this for so long. I'm not young. I feel like our stories are really different, opposite, because I was not young. I am in my 30s, and they say in your 30s as a woman, the clock is ticking and whatever. So
There's that pressure.
Yeah, there's the pressure. So I was really, really, really happy. It was such exciting news for me. And
Wow.
yeah, so yeah,
Those are 2 different
I was
stories.
celebrating.
Very interesting.
And I was just looking forward now to, I have seen so many of my friends pregnant, having children, my sisters. And I always wished, okay, I really want to experience this one time. And so now when I saw the strip, and I knew, okay, yeah, so really it's happening, I'm pregnant.
Exactly.
I was just looking forward to the experience, to the journey. How will it look like? I was now starting to figure out how will I look like, with a bump. Yeah, being pregnant. And it was a very exciting moment for me. Yeah.
How did your mom support you through that period at that time?
So my mom walked that journey with me, even through the labor when it came now. She's the one who went with me to the hospital. Yes, and I remember I cried seeing my mom leave. I'm like, why are you leaving me here? Whew. I remember I called the doctor and I told the doctor, mister, I think my head is opening here. There's a space somewhere. I need help. And these guys were like, no, we're bado ni mdogo, hauelewi. Naambia, no. And then they tell me, stand up kwa scale kwanza ni kuangalie. Why I stand there? I'm 48 kgs. They're like, apana, u lazima ende CS. This one cannot push. You get? Now they're feeding me with all this fear. And I'm like, okay, how do I survive CS? I don't know how it's done. Where do they even cut? You get? So later on now my water broke and they were like, it seems aka kanaweza scuba. So I was taken where? To the labor ward. So inside the labor ward, they tell me, itabidi umepanda kitanda. I asked them, and I'm still in pain, yeah? I asked them, am I supposed to lay on my tummy or lay on my back? And I remember they laughed at me and I'm confused. I'm like, why are you laughing at me and I'm in pain?
It just reminded me of how I wore the robe the opposite way. Like you. I tied it on the back and then one of the nurses came and told me, what are you doing?
Yeah, Badilisha.
Wow. Yeah. And Faith, maybe shortly before we go for the break, tell me about that moment now when it's first trimester. Did anything ever prepare you enough for that moment now when you are carrying the pregnancy throughout the trimesters?
Honestly, no, nothing. I don't think anything will prepare you as a new mom for what you'll go through during the pregnancy, because the first trimester was quite easy. It wasn't that hard. The second one, yeah, I was a bit tired, but now when we go to the third, from around 34 weeks, my pressure was shooting. it was going very high. So I'd go for my clinics, and my gyna would tell me, I think you might be getting preeclampsia. And that was the, the, the most scariest thing I've ever had, because, you know, now with Google and everything, you go and research, you read about it. And when I read about preeclampsia, everything I was reading about preeclampsia was negative. You know, how mothers die with their babies, you know, because of preeclampsia, and how, you know, preeclampsia kills the child, and maybe you were saved as a... So I was really confused, but because my pressure was going up, and then I was swollen. You know, my face was swollen, my hands, my legs. You know, you get swollen during pregnancy, but mine was a unique kind of swelling, because I could not even fit into sandals, none. I was just walking barefoot, and when I go for clinics, I just, you know, get like the really open sandals, but still, my feet, they were swollen. So I realized later that these are, you know, the symptoms of preeclampsia, which I didn't know. And good thing is my gyna picked it, you know, quite early, and so we used to do a urine test to check. I think there's something they check in the urine to see how bad it is. And yeah, so by the time it was getting to 35, 36 weeks, it was really bad.
Yeah.
My pressure was going up to 150.
Just put a pause
Yeah.
there. Put a pause there.
Yeah.
We'll get to how the baby came and
Yeah.
and how the doctor was able to
save,
save the baby. And now we're watching Parenting Today, and today we're talking about the pregnancy journey with two lovely ladies. We're taking a short break, after which we'll come back and talk more. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Parenting Today. Today we're talking about the pregnancy journey, and with me are two ladies, Faith and Lorna, who are telling us about their journeys. Lorna is a mother of 3, and Faith is a mother of 1. And she was telling us how she got preeclampsia. Tell me about that. That was 36 weeks, and you're there, you're worried. That's why we put a pause on here.
Yeah. So so my doctor tells me, unfortunately, you have preeclampsia, and this thing is really risky. You know, we've lost moms to preeclampsia, and this now makes your pregnancy very high risk, and so I don't even think we'll have to think of you going to labor. So we have to schedule a CS, you know, go book a hospital. You know, this is very early. Me, I am thinking I still have like, you know, 6 weeks. I could go to 40, 41 weeks, yeah? So I have to really work backwards, plan myself, get things for the baby. I have to book a hospital early enough, because this is now a scheduled CS. Just in case of anything, I can be rushed to CS, you know? And then I had to get a blood pressure machine so that I can monitor my pressure every day, because sometimes it would shoot to 150, sometimes it would come down to 140 something. So yeah, so at around 30, that was 35 weeks, 36 weeks, I really pushed. So you just kept checking. 37 weeks, I got a very weird experience. Now, I started experiencing some sort of pain, you know, in my lower pelvic area, and I thought, okay, maybe it's the baby pushing. So the baby was playing well, everything was fine, but then I was feeling this pain on my pelvic area. Especially at night, there was no sleep, because that pain was horrible. So I went back, and he told me, okay, we did a scan, everything was fine, and he thought, oh, maybe this is a false labor, what is called, I think Braxton Hicks, something like that. And actually, I read a lot during that time, so that's why you hear me even using some terms that are
medical terms.
Yeah.
Dr. Google. The doctor will tell us about that later on.
So anyway, one morning I woke up a few days later, maybe 3 days after doing the scan, and I got some mucus. You know, I had some mucus, and the mucus was reddish. So me and my Google, I started Googling, and so this thing tells me it's something called a mucus plug or something. So quickly I called the doctor. I think my mucus plug came. So he's like, what do you mean? What do you know
already
about a
diagnosed
mucus
it,
plug?
yeah.
So anyway, he was like, just come in. So we did a scan. Everything was fine. I was not in labor or anything. So I went back home. 2 days later, I woke up, and remember, I'm not full term. Now I'm 37 weeks. My water broke in the morning. So I'm going to the bathroom, and wow, I'm like, okay, what's happening? I was in denial actually. I was like, no, I'm just peeing. This is not, my water is not, it's
Yeah.
37 weeks. What do you mean? So anyway, I went back to bed, but the water was not stopping.
Oh.
The water was just flowing. It's a lot of water. So anyway, I was like, this is it. Went to the hospital. Got to the hospital. I'd already booked the hospital. Good thing. We go to the hospital because I was already a preeclampsia patient. They did my checks, my pressure. My pressure was a bit high, around 160. You know, that's very high pressure. I'm sure the doctor will talk about it. So when I got to the hospital, they checked my pressure was high. It was around 160. I was not in any pain, no labor, but the water already broke. And they checked I was dilated, 2 centimeters. So they were like, okay, you're not in pain, but actually you're in labor. You're in active labor because you're dilated. So quickly, the doctor was away. My doctor was away. Who was supposed to undertake the CS. So he quickly got somebody else. He came, and that's how I went to theater. Now the story after, actually I gave birth fine. Everything was fine. The baby cried. I was so happy because, you know, all this time, like 2 weeks of serious anxiety, because I thought, what if my placenta fails because of this preeclampsia and I'm not able to, you know, the baby is not able to feed or anything happens? What, you know, I was very anxious. And so when I saw the baby is fine and crying, it was really the most amazing. I can't even explain it. It was really a great moment for me because, you know, you're thinking you might lose the baby, or you yourself, you might even die, and then you see your baby. But then afterwards, maybe I'll share this story after, because I didn't know it's not over yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you, Lorna. The second baby and the third baby now. Who is a year old, you told me?
Yes.
Yes, who's a year old. So that's not very long ago.
Yeah.
Tell me about the second pregnancy. How different was it from the first one?
Yeah.
Did you experience the same symptoms? How was it for the second one?
Wow. Now the second pregnancy was a whole journey.
What do you mean by that?
Wow. From the physical change to the whole journey, I don't know where to begin. It was overwhelming. But I was so in love with this child because I really wanted a do-over. Because the first child, I was too panicked. I wasn't able to do things that I needed to do. So I needed that do-over. So yeah, first of all, I didn't know I'm pregnant with the second one. After 4 months of being pregnant, that's when I realized I was. So at that time, my periods were not so consistent. So they will take like 3 to 4 months before they come. So I thought it was just a usual thing. And in the beginning, I didn't even have a lot of morning sickness. So I used to get a little bit dizzy and I say, probably ni family planning.
Yeah.
The way we used to say, family planning can mess your whole system. So I thought it was that. So fast forward to after 4 months, I start getting sick. I wonder, okay, what's happening? For 3 weeks, a whole 3 weeks, I'm feeling sick. I don't know what's happening. I'm taking over-the-counter drugs. I don't understand it. So I just told myself, let me go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital, and the first question I'm asked, when was your last period? I'm like,
Some months ago, maybe.
I'm not really sure, but I think like 5 months ago. And they're like, and you're seated in the house. I'm like, it's the norm for me. I don't see why you're getting too worked up. And the doctor is like, no, we have now to do tests on you. So I go get the urine test. They get blood work from me, and a pretty nurse comes. Congratulations, you're pregnant. And I'm like, whoa, what do you mean I'm pregnant? And yeah, you're pregnant, you're 4 months along, like 4.5 months. And I'm like, are you serious? Yes, you are. I'm like, oh. Now it's a shock to me because I wasn't trying. and I didn't expect to have it. So it was a shock to me. And I remember I asked the nurse, Sasa, how did it happen? The nurse is like, I can't tell you how it happened, but it happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, sawa, no problem. It is what it is. Let's just go with it.
And at 4 months,
At
but
4
I
months.
think we also need to get this from the doctor.
Yeah.
How early should you start your prenatal visits? Like the
Exactly.
clinics, because
Yeah.
at 4 months, that's already like a whole trimester in.
Gone, yeah.
So,
True.
yeah, what kind of care do you need
Yes.
before all that time?
Yeah.
So, the second trimester?
The second trimester was smooth sailing.
Yeah.
I had to come to terms with, I'm pregnant, now let's do this. So I started my prenatal clinics, I started to get the supplements, and then gets to around 6 months, and then the doctors tell me, Apana, this baby is too big. We're suspecting you might have twins. So I told them, okay, I highly doubt, because we don't have a history of twins in our family or either his family. So I don't understand what you mean. But the doctor is insisting you're saying you're this far along, but when we look at the baby, there's some discrepancy there. So they suggest we go for a scan. We go for a scan, and the sonographer also says, by the way, this baby is huge. And I used to eat a lot. I think my pregnancies are just about eating. I eat a lot. Especially with the 2 girls, I ate completely. So I get my scan. They say it's 1 kid. She's doing well. They told me it was a boy. Now let's start from there. They told me it was a boy. I'm so excited. I have a girl now. I have a boy. There's someone in the house to play with. So I go get, I start shopping. I buy everything blue, because I'm expecting a blue baby. Fast forward to labor. So fast forward to labor at around 3 a.m. I don't know why these things start in the middle of the night. That's one thing I can never explain. So around 3 a.m. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. I don't understand what is going on. And the previous day, I actually woke up, did a whole lot of cleaning in the house. I cleaned, it's like I was nesting. So I cleaned the whole house, cleaned the baby stuff, everything is prepared. And then in the middle of the night, I start feeling uncomfortable. I start telling my sister-in-law, I feel like there's something, Now my sister-in-law is telling me, siwe ndo ulienda kujifanyisha makazi huko. I'm like, okay, sawa. I stay kidogo around kitu 4. It's unbearable now. Now I'm starting to go to the toilet frequently. And I didn't experience this with the first one. Now you see, that one is already confusing me. So I decided to call my Uber guy. I told my Uber guy, Niaje, I don't think I'm okay. I need to go to the hospital. I informed my spouse, and my spouse was like, you just go, I'll find you there. So I rushed to the hospital. I get to the hospital, and my doctor is telling me, madam, you're already 6 centimeters dilated. I'm like, 6? What do you mean 6? Yeah, you're already 6 centimeters dilated. Now you're in active labor. We have to admit you. So I get admitted. I go through the whole labor process. When I'm almost about to 10 centimeters, they come and tell me, now, madam, we don't see you being able to push because your baby is huge. So we think that we'll have now to do a CS. And I was like, it's okay. Let's just do it. So they start preparing me. And before you go to theater, they put you, it's like a cold room. That place is so cold. So I was there in the cold room on top of the bed. And I told myself, am I seriously going through with this? Am I seriously doing this? And I remember I told my baby, we're not doing CS.
Such a lonely room.
Yes, that room is so lonely. And then it's so cold. I don't know why it's so cold. So as they're preparing their stuff, I remember I told my baby, Apana, we have to push, and I'm pushing. So I started pushing with no doctor. Yes, with no doctor.
That's a very interesting story. We still want to hear more of this from Lorna and Faith. We're taking a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Parenting Today. We have two mothers on set because we're talking about the pregnancy journey. And they've just narrated to us how their journeys were. And right now we have a doctor on set, an obstetrician gynecologist, Dr. Corinne Arara. Welcome.
Thank you, Becky.
Let's talk about the trimesters, the first trimester. What should one expect from the first trimester to the third trimester?
Okay. So pregnancy is divided into three. We have the first, second, and third trimester. And to answer a question that was asked earlier, when is the best time to start antenatal clinics? The best time is preconceptionally. And by that I mean before you actually get pregnant.
Ooh.
So we always advise mothers to come in at least when you're planning to get pregnant, because there are advices that we give you to help you in the preconception period, and some medication that we also start you on. If someone has conditions in the preconception period, we can be able to manage the conditions beforehand, adjust your medications to the pregnancy-friendly medications before you start the pregnancy. Once you're pregnant, then we call it the antenatal clinics. Now you're pregnant. So at that point in time, if possibly you discover you're pregnant, whichever time it is, be it early, be it late, you should start your clinics. The best time though will stand at first trimester, because in the first trimester is when everything is developing. Everything, I mean, from the brain down to your limbs, down to the baby's limbs. There are medications that are prescribed in the first trimester because these medications help in preventing what we call neural tube defects. That is basically the central nervous system abnormalities. So the first 3 months is the most essential time to be able to be on those medication. If you have a chronic illness, for instance, diabetes, hypertension, HIV, then it's best to optimize the treatment at this point in time, because that will determine the outcome of this pregnancy and your entire journey.
Whoa.
Yes.
So the first 3 months.
Yes.
You've spoken about some of, like some advice that you'd give
Yes.
conception.
Yes.
What's some of the advice that
Good question.
that you'd give?
Okay. So preconceptionally, then we would want to advise patients about smoking, about drinking. We can't assume that our mothers do not do these things. They do, and it's okay. So we want to tell you to stop smoking, preferably before you actually conceive. We want to advise you to either cut on your alcohol intake or ultimately just stop taking alcohol preconceptionally. Again, as I'd said earlier on, there's some conditions which patients have that need the treatment to be optimized. For instance, if someone is hypertensive, there's some medication that they take during their normal days when they're not pregnant that are not safe in pregnancy. So we want to see you beforehand and stop this medication, or rather change them to medications which are safe in pregnancy. There are some conditions like diabetes which, depending on where you are at in terms of your sugar control, would either tell you to postpone your pregnancy or start you on medication before you actually get pregnant, because it tends to get worse in pregnancy.
Okay.
Yes.
The first trimester, which you've said is the most important among the 3 trimesters,
Yes.
and in most cases that's when we have morning sicknesses. Because women are nauseated at that time. That's when you can't keep anything
Yes.
in. How is it risky for the baby at that time? Because I'm thinking like the baby needs to feed at this point, or rather you need to be eating at this point.
Okay. So those conditions, we call them common ailments. I'll call them common because they're not that bad, but then if not managed well, they could progress to become something very severe. So for instance, the common illnesses which we have in the first trimester would be nausea and vomiting in pregnancy. We simply call it nausea and vomiting in pregnancy. If it becomes severe, now we call it big words like hyperemesis gravidarum, which could be so bad that could lead to even kidney failure. So nausea and vomiting is okay. It's a symptom of pregnancy. Faith said she did not know she was pregnant until she started feeling the nausea. So sometimes someone would not know they're actually pregnant until they start feeling the nausea, the fatigue, and breast tenderness. So for some people, that is how it goes for them. Other common ailments that we have in first trimester could be just a simple heartburn, which you can manage very well by giving you the common antacids that will just help you to relieve the symptoms. So the common ailments are not so severe. They're not so bad if they're managed well. But in case you don't get to manage them adequately, then it becomes something that needs you to be hospitalized.
Okay.
Yes.
But second trimester, let's talk about that.
Second trimester starts from 13 weeks going all the way to around 28 weeks. That's second trimester. What happens in the second trimester is we want to monitor the progress of growth of this baby. So first trimester was basically development. Second trimester is everything now is becoming bigger. So in second trimester, when we ask you to come in for a visit, we want to make sure you have done your antenatal profile. What I mean by that is there are a set of lab tests that we do during pregnancy. That includes HIV, syphilis, hepatitis B. We also check your blood group, we check your HP. HP is basically the amount of blood, hemoglobin, that you have in your system. We check your urinalysis. These tests have to be done in the first visit most of the time, but in case we're getting you at this point in time, then we have to do them at this point in time and see how you are physically, how are you as pertains your well-being. How are you as you're going through this pregnancy. The other thing we do is to put you on supplements. So if you had not seen you in the first trimester, then this is the point at which I want to see which supplements should you be on. Most of the time, we just want to give you supplements to help you in the pregnancy. We want to give you calcium supplements, vitamin D supplements to help you because the baby is growing. The other thing we have to do in the second trimester is an ultrasound. So the ultrasound, we're basically assessing the growth of the baby because there's no other way in which we can know how the baby is developing other than by doing an ultrasound. So in the first trimester, you'll find that depending on where the patient was caught at, probably a dating scan was done to basically know at what gestation you are, where is the pregnancy in this case. Is the pregnancy in the uterus or is the pregnancy in the fallopian tubes, for instance? We call it ectopic. In the second trimester, we want to do something we call an anomaly scan. Anomaly scan, to break it down, is basically a scan done to assess rule out any abnormalities in the baby. So we're able to do it at that point in time, and depending on what we see, is it something that is compatible with life, because we share it with the couple or with the mother and tell her, from what we have done, we see this is what the baby has. Baby has these abnormalities, which we think is not compatible with life, or it is compatible with life, but then you have to be aware that at the end of it all, it will give you a very hard time. So you get to choose whether you want to continue with the pregnancy, whether you want the pregnancy terminated if it is not compatible with life. So that's why we do the anomaly scan. And basically it will help us when you're doing the third trimester scans to see how is it that we have come, how far we've come in terms of growth. The other thing that is done in that scan is gender. Lorna, I'm sorry about your experience about gender, but yes, we get to assess the gender at that point in time. It is not 100% guarantee, it's probably 75%. So we always tell you, from what we can see, we're able to see the baby is female or male, but then there's room for errors. Yes, so that's why we do the scans.
The scans, that is at the third trimester. You've spoken about the abnormalities. What kind of abnormalities do you check out for that would inform whether the parents would want the baby aborted or not?
Okay, so the most common abnormalities that we get to assess would be things like Down syndrome. I don't know if you've heard of Down syndrome.
Yeah.
So Down syndrome can be assessed either by doing an ultrasound, or it can be assessed by doing blood tests. So that is a condition that even if the baby is carried to term, the baby will live. Probably with just a few challenges here and there. But then there are some other conditions which are incompatible with life. By that, you have a baby who has like no head, no brain completely, or has one eye literally, or has no limbs. Those ones can live, but then it is something we have to be able to assess at this point in time and advise the mother so that she can make an informed decision. Yes.
Talk about the medication that you give throughout. You know,
Yes.
some people argue that mothers never took the supplements and they give birth to us successfully,
Yes.
and we are healthy. How important is it to supplement the meals that the pregnant mother takes at this point?
Okay.
The nutrients, rather.
Yeah. Okay, let me not talk about our parents and what they did not take. But I think the fact that we are aware that we need to be on supplements, if you're not on supplement and something happens to your baby, it will always haunt you. That why didn't I take it? I had the privilege, or rather I was exposed to it. So the supplements that we currently, that we advocate for, which we advocate for even preconceptionally, is folic acid. Folic acid is very vital in the development of the brain system together with the spinal cord of the baby. Apart from that, we also have other vitamins and minerals that we pair them up together with the folic acid to basically help in the pregnancy journey. Other than that, we have calcium. As you know, babies are growing, the bones are developing, the teeth is growing. So what happens is if we do not supplement the calcium, then the person to suffer is the mother, because the baby will not care. The baby will grow either way. and it will draw its calcium from the mother. And that's why you get most of the ladies complaining about toothache, bone pains, chronic fatigue. That is because their calcium levels are quite low. So we have to supplement, and supplementation can either be through diet, where we advise them on calcium-rich foods, or just by giving them a tablet. Most of the supplements that we have that have calcium are coupled with vitamin D. Vitamin D will help with prevention of rickets, and also there has been studies done that show majority of women who are suffering from recurrent pregnancy losses they're suffering from that because of deficiencies in vitamin D. So you'll find if you have someone taking the two, then it's actually helping them.
Thank you for the info. And now to the ladies, Lorna and Faith. Do you have any questions for Daktari? Lorna?
Yeah, I do. If you had a normal birth, like twice, and then the third one you got a C-section, is it possible for the fourth one to still go back to doing it normal? Yes.
When you're asking about being able to deliver normally after cesarean section, the medical word for that is TOLAC. TOLAC stands for trial of labor after cesarean section. So yes, it's possible. It all depends. There's a criteria that we look at before we can actually say, yes, you're free to go and have a normal delivery. For you who has delivered vaginally before and you get a cesarean section, you stand a very high chance of getting a normal delivery as compared to Faith. Sorry to say, Faith went straight for a cesarean section. So between the two of you, you have a higher chance. The other thing we look at is the weight of the baby. 4.9 kgs, you're going nowhere. So we're targeting a weight of between 2.5 and 3.5 kg. We also want you to have spontaneous onset of labor at the point at which you're getting to labor, because we don't have room for inducing you. Inducing is basically giving you medication to make your labor come. The fourth thing that we want you to have as a prerequisite to qualify for a TOLAC is, are you on your due date? Like if, let's say, your due date for delivery is 10, you cannot go beyond 10. If it comes earlier, then that is good. But if 10th gets there and you're not in labor, then of course you cannot qualify. So yes, just in a nutshell, there's so many prerequisites that we have to look at. But in a nutshell, yes, it is possible. All you need is a very good hospital setup where you're being monitored. So there has to be a nurse assigned to you. Theater team has to be standby, because anything goes wrong, you go into theater. The doctor delivering you has to be standby. So it involves a lot of things. You have to be prepared psychologically that this could go the other way. So yes.
Yeah, so I would like to know what causes preeclampsia. That's number one. Number two, is there a way that you can actually prevent it from happening? Are there ways or measures that you can take as a pregnant woman to prevent preeclampsia? And then the last one, still around preeclampsia, because I think it was a big issue for me, is what actually are the risk factors? Because I was actually facing death. Is it death, or it's not a very serious concern? Yeah.
Thank you, Faith. That is a horrible experience I'm sure you went through. So preeclampsia is basically hypertension in pregnancy. Preeclampsia, the cause, I would tell you for sure, is not known. Majority of the times, the cause of preeclampsia is not known. So what would probably make us, the things that we call risk factors, as you actually say, would be things like extremes of weight. For those who are like really towards morbidly obese, are at a high risk of getting preeclampsia. Family history. Family history of preeclampsia would most likely translate to you. If you have conditions, we call them like conditions affecting your kidneys, condition affecting your adrenal glands that are possibly in the previous in your previous life, that would possibly have caused you to have hypertension, would possibly translate to you getting preeclampsia. So the cause actually of preeclampsia is not fully known. Prevention, there are currently proposals that there are some supplements that we can give to mothers to try and prevent preeclampsia. In your case, for instance, if you're to get pregnant a second time, then it would be advisable for you to seek medical attention as soon as you discover you're pregnant. And when you do that, what we usually do is, if you are beyond 6 weeks, then there is medication that we give you, aspirin. Aspirin is a medication that is known to help prevent preeclampsia. So we give you as early as beyond 6 weeks, because preeclampsia usually happens at the 20th week.
Yeah.
If you're having hypertension and you're less than 20 weeks, then you're having what we call chronic hypertension. But if you're 20 weeks and beyond and you get hypertension, and we investigate and we see what you have, then yes, you're most likely having preeclampsia. Preeclampsia affects literally, I would say literally every organ in your body. It will affect your brain, it will affect your eyes, it will affect your heart, your kidneys. I've seen cases of patients going from just simple preeclampsia to full-blown kidney failure needing dialysis. So every single organ of your body will be affected by preeclampsia. So it's a very serious condition. Yes.
Thanks so much, Dr. Arara, for the responses to the questions. If someone wanted to reach out to you, how would they get you?
You can get me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Corinne Arara.
Corinne Arara on Facebook. I hope you got that right. Thank you so much, ladies. It was such a nice conversation. I mean, we can't exhaust it on one show, definitely. Thank you so much for watching Parenting Today. It's been an exciting show. I mean, discussing the trimesters, the pregnancy journey. And if you're there, I'm sure you've learned a thing or two. Until next time, I wish you happy parenting. My name is Rebecca Miruri Mulure.
Welcome to Tile and Carpet, where we deal with everything you would need at home, in the office, restaurant, and hotels. We offer solutions to all your needs. We have a wide range of roofing solutions, tiles, sanitary furnishing, and interiors. We have exquisite furniture, elaborate dining sets, and classic comfy beds. Our prices are affordable across board. Feel free to visit us in any of our different branches in Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nairobi. We also do site visits and offer clients with professional advice. You can reach us on this number for the site visit.